But now let's switch it over to English and give a warm welcome to Sangita Kulathinal. She is Professor of Statistics and also the Vice Head of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at the University of Helsinki in Finland. She is also a visiting researcher at the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, and her interests are in the design and analysis of cohort and register-based studies. That is not the reason she's here today. The reason she is here is because she is the editor-in-chief of the Scandinavian Journal of Statistics, SJS, since January this year, together with her two co-editors. So give a warm welcome to Sangita.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome, Sangita. Wonderful to have you with us today. So you're going to talk about the challenges in statistics, writing, and publishing. You also got a question from Lena, which is, as a supervisor for a doctoral program in mathematics and statistics, how do you discuss expectations of communication with your PhD students? Now you can either answer this question straight away at the end of your presentation or as a part of your presentation, but that is the question from Lena to you.
Yeah, I think I will answer it during my talk. So let's come back to it. Yeah.
Excellent. With that, we're very happy to have you with us, and I will stop my screen share and allow you to share your presentation. And well, a warm welcome. Excellent.
Okay, yeah. So thank you for inviting me to talk about what one should keep in mind when writing to get research work published in a scientific journal like the Scandinavian Journal of Statistics. I must admit that this is my very first talk as an editor of SJS. Let me express my admiration for you all who will be listening to my talk in English. I don't know Swedish at all, and I tried to look at some of the documents, such as instructions for those who report surveys provided by the Swedish Statistical Society, and editorials by the next speaker. The question put forward by the previous speaker is very important for any statistician, and more so for a supervisor. Students learn in their master's degree program that statistics is not only about numbers. It is neither only mathematics, nor only computation, but it is about problem solving from different disciplines. A famous statistician told to a colleague, the best thing about being a statistician is that you get to play in everyone's backyard. I encourage my students to combine learning and playing, providing atmosphere and possibility of interacting with others, initiate the communication need, and thereby students realize that they are expected to communicate with others in a clear language. I will elaborate on this in my talk. I have divided my talk into 3 parts. I thought that we can't talk about publication even in our journal like SJS without touching upon the topic of statistics writing. And the way I have tried to prepare this talk is to keep in mind the target audience, so statisticians, and also those who are interested in statistics. So the first part of my talk is about statistics writing. The second part is about developments in statistics discipline, which has directly influenced statistics publishing in general and also for SJS. The third part focuses on the Scandinavian Journal of Statistics, and I have included a brief history of SJS and the general publication process of SJS. So we statisticians, as we are all aware of, that we write for statisticians as well as for non-statisticians. And both of these writing play a crucial role in scientific publishing. And before I move forward regarding statistics writing, I would like to acknowledge Neil Sheldon, who has been guest lecturer at our department. And we have given 2 courses, Why, When, and What of Statistics and Communicating with Statistics. And you will find more about Neil from the link that I have put there. And I have permission from him that I can use the slides that we used in the course. And I know this is not teaching statistics, but I think that it's important to bring in this idea of writing statistics first. So let's look at this slide for a couple of minutes and think, what do the following have in common? The AIM stock market, so that's London stock market index, is currently 1200. COVID-19 new cases worldwide last week, 740,000. It is the average global temperature in 2020 was about 1.2 degrees centigrade, about the pre-industrial level, and so on. Let's look at one more slide here. So these are graphical presentation. The first uppermost panel shows the students' drink preference, water, milk, juice, and so on. This other right corner plot is about UK's employment level, and then the global air temperature change, and then the stress level. Again, the same question, what are the common things in these plots as well as the previous statements? Yeah, I hope that you had a few moments at least to stare at this and this. So when we asked this question to students in our class, one student came up with the answer that there is no comparison. And I think that's quite correct. So what is missing here, I will put it in a different term, is that there is no context. So they don't have much in common, but they all have something missing in them. And all of them are missing a context. For example, if we look at bullet number 3 here, without knowing the pre-industrial temperature level, about 1.2 degrees centigrade above that level says nothing about the temperature level in 2020, for example. And the last statement here, it's about middle-aged or older patients who get to the drug. And here this statement is about a statin, cholesterol-lowering drug. And the last statement talks about the illnesses among elderly, but the patients are of middle-aged. So what is the context? Just very briefly about one of these plots, for example, the UK employment level, without knowing what is UK's population, how it has changed over the years, or more so, what is UK's working age population, so those who are interested in getting employment. Without that reference, just looking at the employment level doesn't make sense. So just to summarize this, so statistics, when we present as numbers and graphs without context, are meaningless. And they are even misleading without relevant context. So statistics is a problem-solving discipline. It is not just an exercise in collecting and analyzing data. So I would say that we can define statistical literacy as data literacy, understanding what data are telling us, linguistic literacy, so how we express them, and then knowing the background from where the data come from, what is the real question. So combining all this allows us to use proper statistical language. And just to briefly say that statistics heavily relies on data, as we are all aware of, and also the theory. It has got too much emphasis on mathematics and number, but the main purpose of statistics is insight and not only numbers. The theory comes essentially from mathematical statistics. We need people to do mathematical statistics, and it can be abstracted from the real world. However, in recent years, the data collection and processing are increasingly done by technology. But only people can do the problem-solving part of this particular flow diagram. My own basic training was in mathematical statistics. And in the late 1990s, I faced the toughest challenge of designing a case cohort study. I had to first read terminology from epidemiology. It was about cardiovascular diseases, and understand genetics, because the aim of the case cohort study was to assess the link between the genetic predisposition and cardiovascular diseases. My mathematical statistics knowledge, epidemiology, and genetics combined, of course, cooperation from colleagues, resulted into a design which was then implemented in the multicentric cohort study Morgan. And I use the word toughest challenge because I came from really pure mathematical statistics and I wasn't aware of epidemiology and didn't like genetics at all as a biology student. So when it comes to communication, I do ask students to read and synthesize selected articles, reports from media. It is only recently that I have started organizing courses such as why, when, and what of statistics, and communicating with statistics for students. So the next 2 slides, I will still spend on language in statistics and how important it is for statistics writing. So we know that statistics is all about understanding the real world, and the background knowledge play a very important part in this. It involves problem solving, inference, interpretation, and the communication of conclusions. And all of these activities require language to be used with care and precision. And users of statistics need to understand the meanings of technical terms. And I really know how it means when I had to really read all the epidemiological terminology also. But for us, if we want to explain the statistical terms to non-statisticians, it's really very difficult job, but it's also quite integrated in our role. And we need to also express our findings in a very clear language. This focus on the use of clear language is increasingly important as people are exposed to more data than ever more. And we have seen this during the pandemics, that we were flooded with all kinds of reports about the spread of COVID-19 infection. So in my opinion, writing or communicating statistics is really like telling a story. You have to set up a ground, and that comes from all the background information that one can have, and ask intelligent questions, frame them properly, then you can get proper answers. and then describe the method of investigation very clearly and why you choose that method. And then the conclusions, what are their implications and how you present them correctly. This is just one example, and I think Swedish Statistical Society's document for survey reporting was quite close to this, if I understood Google translation of Swedish report correctly. And it did touch upon these points that I have listed here. Who collected the data, where they were collected, when and why they were collected, and how they were collected, because that could influence the bias that would come in the reports. What assumptions have been made, what definitions have been used, and what kind of background knowledge was available while doing this. And then, is the obvious inference the correct one? So have we chosen the proper method? Have the data collection influenced the inference that we are drawing? And then, is there any better explanation available after this whole exercise that was carried out? So I would say that in summary, statistical problem solving is a cyclic process, very rarely with a clear start and finish. The conclusion stage of the cycle is not the end of the cycle, but are pointers to new questions. I think with this very brief introduction to statistics writing, I would take you to a very nice triangle which shows how statistics discipline has developed or changed over the last 2 centuries, and how that has influenced statistics publishing. So statistics has tremendous history and is one of the oldest professional fields. Statisticians collaborate with professionals of many other disciplines. And in the 19th century, the discipline had more application-oriented focus. Maybe these numbers written in this triangle is too small, but the top of the triangle where applications is written is the 19th century part. And then the discipline moves down towards the mathematics, where the focus was more towards developing mathematical tools for statistics, and which falls under then mathematical statistics. And then it moved more towards the computation with the development of technology, that it was possible to do more computation. And then in the 21st century, statistics has seen development of large-scale prediction algorithm, but missing the building blocks of classical inference. And I would say that the prediction usually is the simplest use of regression theory, though it has now gotten a big name as data science. This triangle is from a book on computer-age statistical inference, algorithms, evidence, and data science, written by Efren and Hesti in 2016. And I would say that the way statistics discipline has moved towards the center of this triangle, so it has really now focused on combining application, mathematics, and computation, and so is the statistics publication moving towards the combination of the three. Now to the main topic of today's talk about Scandinavian Journal of Statistics, and what we should keep in mind when we want to publish in journals like SJS. So first, a brief history. And SJS was founded in 1974 by 4 Scandinavian Statistics Society. Many of you might be aware of this. And these 4 Scandinavian Statistics Societies came from Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. And the Scandinavian Journal of Statistics is a peer-reviewed international statistical journal devoted to reporting significant and innovative original contributions of statistics and statistical methodology, both in theory and applications. The editorial board of the journal consists of 3 editors. I am one of the 3, and the 2 other editors are Professor Jaakko Peltonen and Professor Mikko Sillanpää. They both were planning to attend this talk, so they will be available to answer your questions. And we have 42 associate editors, and we do invite new associate editors as and when there is a need to have expertise of specific statistical research area. Or if we have very many articles from a specific area, then we do invite new associate editors so that a single associate editor is not overloaded with the articles. The journal is published by John Wiley and Sons, and the submission of the manuscripts are done using the ScholarOne Manuscript Central platform. You will find more about the journal from this link. I decided to put some statistics of our manuscript submission and trying not to make numbers and graphs without context. So here, this slide simply shows the number of submitted manuscripts. It's actually the cumulative number of submitted manuscript over the calendar period. And the years that I have taken here are from 2014. And the topmost 2 curves are exceptional. They were from the COVID period, 2019 and 2020, where we got 344 and 339 articles, which were above the normally observed the submission that we get in the range of 280 to 300 per year since 2014. And this figure I have put here for a very special reason, and it will be clear to you why. Here, this chart shows the top 15 countries or regions ranked by the number of submission to the journal for the year 2021. And this I have taken from the publisher's report of 2021. And our contact from the publisher, Wiley, is Stephen Raywood. So as you can see, this blue line that I have put, so these are the 4 Scandinavian countries which actually founded the Scandinavian Journal of Statistics. And you see that we have had only 13 submissions from the Scandinavian countries in 2021, which is lower compared to other European countries, Southern European countries, and of course much lower compared to United States, for example. I think we, as authors of research articles, are always interested in how quick a journal gives the first decision. And we can see that SJS has thrived on getting the time to first decision to about 10 days for 50% of all submissions. And I would say that this is really a very great improvement. And about 75% of all submissions get the decision by 90 days. So we as editors and also previous editors have really put efforts to improve this process, that the authors hear about the first decision as soon as possible. This slide is quite busy, but I think it answers the questions on what it takes to publish in journals like Statistics. So I will walk you through the review process. And let's take these 300 manuscripts per year as an example. So please don't take it as the absolute and the face value that we always get 300 manuscripts. But in order to make sense of what follows, let's think that we have about 300 manuscripts submitted per year. And the first step after a manuscript is submitted, it undergoes the admin check. And at this stage of the process, each manuscript is checked for the file's readability and the general style of the file. I would like to point out that SJS does not demand a specific style file to be followed at the time of first submission. So authors are free to choose the style file, but there is a general recommendation of having a title, abstract, and so on. But here we mostly check that the file is readable, the equations are readable, and so on. And then the next step is about plagiarism. And in previous years, this check was done by editors, and it was quite a tedious process. And this checker, now the system uses a specific checker for plagiarism, and that was introduced in 2018 to systematically run the checker on all incoming manuscripts. Some authors reuse large parts of their previously published papers. Guidelines on plagiarism using other authors' work and dual publication, reusing own work, is included under author guidelines. Previous editors from Norway, so they served the journal between 2019 and 2021, received a noticeable number of submissions of dubious origins, apparently produced at paper factories, these are their terms, or by individuals who attempted extensive salami slicing of papers. Currently, such submissions are lower in number compared to those before the plagiarism checker, but we still receive papers that have too much overlap with other publications, either by the authors themselves or by other authors. And at this stage of evaluation by editors, attention is paid to the plagiarism check and the reports produced by the checker. But I must say that as the editors, we have to be extremely careful what we get from the checker, especially because in recent years, authors do publish preprints in some preprint platforms. And there is quite a lot of overlap identified by the checker to these preprints. And because of this, we do miss out on the actual overlap on the published works. So we do spend a lot of time understanding what kind of overlap is really in a manuscript. And if we are convinced that the overlap is of genuine nature, that it is published work by the authors themselves or by other authors, then it directly results into the desk reject. So that is one of the main reasons for desk reject at the editorial evaluation time. The other reason which leads to the desk reject is having no clear motivation for the proposed methods, or having no proper comparisons for a new method that is proposed, and no indication of a clear application of the theoretical method put forward in a manuscript. And at that stage, once once a manuscript goes through the editor's evaluation stage and editors are convinced that there is sufficient novelty and also motivation in the proposed methods, then it goes to the associate editor, And the associate editors are experts in the main theme of the manuscript. And then associate editor also plays a very crucial role, being an expert in the field of the manuscript, that they then decide whether the novelty is substantial and the article contributes substantially to the field of the research. And then the associate editor decides whether to reject it outright or then send it to the reviewers, who are again experts from the same field as the associate editor. And then reviewers goes through the articles and decides about rejecting it based on not sufficient contribution or advancement in the field of the research, or then suggests either a minor revision or major revision, which will be then communicated by the associate editor to the editor responsible for the manuscript. And the editor then communicates to the authors. So the associate editor handling the manuscript and the reviewers are always hidden. And it's the editor who is the link between the review process and the authors. And then authors in most cases revise their manuscripts, and the manuscripts are sent back to the associate editor and then to the same reviewers in most cases, unless reviewers indicate that they would not like to review the manuscript again. And then once associate editors and reviewers are happy with the manuscript, they decide to accept the manuscript and then informs the editors. And editors then inform the authors, and then authors have to do proper editing of the manuscript, accepted manuscript, and then it goes forward for the publication. And each year, SJS publishes 4 issues with about 15 articles per issue. So I hope that this review process is clear and hopefully encouraging, that once you clear the initial hurdle, there is a quite good chance that your manuscript will be accepted. And now publish in SJS the general guidelines, just main points now without the review process, what we should keep in mind, that avoid plagiarism as much as possible and give very clear reference if you have picked up some specific notes or paragraphs from published work. And then the method should be, the statistical method should be well motivated and should have high research impact. So it should really advance the statistical input and insight into the application area where the methods could be published, and that way it has a good impact in the application area of this research. And due to the advancement of technology and availability of data, there is more and more emphasis on empirical assessment of the proposed methods against existing competitive methods. And authors are encouraged to use real data for illustration purposes. I am very well aware of the difficulty in getting real data for all applications that authors might be putting forward as motivation for their work. So we do encourage, and if there is no real data, sometimes we pay more attention to empirical assessment and point towards the availability of real data if we are aware of any such possibility. And theoretical statistical articles are published and are encouraged, as well as applications, but they do need strong motivation. And with the same token, case studies are also welcomed, provided the ideas are not mere classroom exercises, but require deeper thinking by way of formulating the problem into mathematical and statistical terms. And even though the methods implemented are existing methods, the application should require deeper thinking on formulating the question and choosing the appropriate methods. And then open access option provides wider readability and visibility of the published articles. And it has become easier over the years due to contracts between institutions and the publisher Wiley directly. And I decided to put this slide as also suggested by our publisher. And I highlight Swedish authors because I'm talking to Swedish colleagues here mostly. So Swedish authors and also authors from Finland, Denmark, Norway, as well as many other countries can publish their articles in SJS as open access at no extra cost to author, because these are institutional agreements. And beginning from January 1st, 2020, authors affiliated with participating Swedish WIPSAM institutions may publish primary research and review articles in any of Wiley's fully gold open access journals or Wiley's hybrid journals. So SJS is Wiley's hybrid journal, where we still continue to print issues, and we have online publication as well. And you will find more about this on author services information from our website. So I would say that as we saw earlier, the number of manuscripts submitted by researchers from Scandinavia in 2020 was only 13. And our journal runs by the society, Scandinavian Society. And I would like to encourage all of you to submit to SJS. Also ask your colleagues, national and international, to submit to SJS. This will increase the journal's visibility and citation. And please remember that SJS is one of the best international statistics journals. It publishes research with impact and fills the gap between theory and applications. So we are really in the center of the triangle that I showed. And with this question to the next speaker, I would like to thank you all.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Sangita. Very interesting to hear the whole acceptance review processor. We have a few questions come in. If you want to post a question, either type it in the chat box or raise your hand, or just feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question if you have one. There's one that has come in from Maria. As a reviewer for SJS, what are the do's and don'ts?
Yes, I hope that Jaakko and Mikko are also here, so they can also add to these answers. First thing, as editors and associate editors, we pay a lot of attention that reviewers are not colleagues and friends of the authors. And sometimes it so happens that we do get articles which are from quite a narrow field of research, and we might have to send it to associate editor and then also reviewers. I also include associate editors here because they are they also fall under some do's and don'ts which are similar to reviewers. So then we have to really make sure that that there is confidentiality in this reviewing of the manuscript. And reviewers are not supposed to share the manuscripts with their doctoral students, because they are experts in this research field where the manuscript comes from, but it's very likely that their doctoral students are working on very similar problems, and they are not supposed to share the work with their doctoral students.
Mhm. I noticed that Jaakko is also with us. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Greetings, everyone, and thank you, Sangita, for the excellent presentation. So, in terms of the reviewers, I would say that, of course, we expect timely reviews, effort put in to be informative, to dig into what makes an article good or not good, and of course being detailed oriented enough so that the point isn't simply to say that this is a good article or not a good article, but to point out that, okay, if it is something that could be made good by a revision, then what would be the critical things to revise. And of course, to be communicative is another thing. Sometimes the the associate editor might need to contact the reviewer to ask for further details regarding some part of the review, or to modify some part of the review to make it more understandable or otherwise. So not just submitting the review and then forgetting about it, but being aware that there might be some further communication. Not always, but sometimes. That's a good thing to be aware of. And I would say in general to be receptive to review invitations. Sometimes I see reviewers decline reviews because they feel that they are not perfect for a manuscript. But that is not the point. An AE usually assembles a team of reviewers, each having complementary perspectives on the manuscript in question, so that if an associate editor has invited someone to be a reviewer, then it's a vote of confidence that the AE is expecting that that person can contribute something of importance to understanding the manuscript, even if they cannot comment on everything. So if you feel that you are unable to comment on some part of the manuscript or some aspect of it, then it is still okay to do a review, just making it clear that which parts you are commenting on. So the AE and then us EICs will take that into account when we process the content of the reviews and arrive at the decision. So what else can I say about the review process? Well, our reviews are written in a system that has particular technical functionalities, and we allow reviews both sent as text and also as attachments, and several reviewers choose to send their reviews as attachments in order to make mathematical notation and otherwise, so that there is a possibility to comment in detail also about the mathematics and do all kinds of things like this. I think Sangita otherwise commented on almost all the aspects. So basically, we expect the review to be confidential, so no communication with others, or especially, of course, with not with the authors. And if there is any need to ask some questions, then the associate editor would be the contact point, and our editorial system allows the reviewers to contact the associate editor so that they can discuss any aspect that needs to be discussed through that. And I guess that's what I can say. So I welcome everyone to act as reviewers, and as Sangita mentioned, sometimes we also invite new associate editors to be part of our team. So some of you may get such an invitation, depending on what our needs are in the different disciplines.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jaakko. One final question. Please give a short answer, as we've already exceeded our time. But what would you say is the hardest part of your work at SJS as editors?
Okay, I say very briefly, I think it's getting very difficult to find reviewers.
And Jaco?
I would say that is part of the thing, but the other is also making a lot of judgment calls. There are situations where we have to think that, okay, what is the scope of SJS? When should we say that, okay, this is potentially quality work, but perhaps better in another journal? And where do we draw the line at what is the right balance of grounding in different, let's say, theoretical and empirical contribution? So these are sometimes things that we have to discuss a little bit, and it's a continuing process. We are doing our best to give everyone a fair chance.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sangita, and also thank you, Jaco, for jumping in and answering a few of the questions. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank you again so much for joining us and telling us a bit more about SJS and the work you do. And obviously, we encourage all of our members to post both articles to you, and also raise your hand if you would like to be a reviewer for SJS, because obviously that's a tricky part as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.